Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Jimmy. Thank you so much for joining me today. In my previous video, I talked about the 18 to 55 millimeter lens. This is a very versatile lens, and the reason why I give it such high praise is because everyone else downplays it. But that doesn't mean I can't have two favorite lenses. This is the 35 millimeter lens. Now keep in mind, with the 1.5 times crop sensor inside my mirrorless camera, it's going to be 50 or so, right? And this is great because it is the human eye experience perspective with this lens. You're not going to take a picture with this camera and this lens and get a wonked out view, right? It's not like that. This is very true to life, so they say. I don't think that's exactly true, but it's pretty close. You're not going to get anything like a different story as you review it later on your computer. Okay, so I use this lens all the time as well. How can you use two lenses all the time? Let's put it this way, okay? If I have a choice to go and take two lenses with me, it's always going to be these two, especially if I'm not shooting people. But if people might be in the mix, you can bet I'm going to be bringing the 35 millimeter lens. Again, 35, 50 millimeter lens, okay, with the crop sensor. I keep everything in the same ecosystem when it comes to photography. When it comes to like other stuff like computers and other gear, I'm mixing and matching all day long. Apple, Android, all kinds of stuff in this room alone. Canon, Fuji. But when it comes to photography, lenses and bodies tend to match for me. Although I have admired people, photographers, who mix and match third-party lenses and adapters and use it with their Fuji system. I think the pictures come out beautiful, individualized, very artistic in their own way, because every lens really does have their own character. Now, the character of the 35 millimeter is, like I said, true to the human experience, but it's soft in terms of like the bokeh when you open up the aperture all the way to 1.4, which is pretty amazing for this lens. The glass is such high quality. The color, just straight out of camera, is beautiful. The raw images through this lens, I feel like, give you a lot of flexibility so you can work with it on your computer later. So with this lens, you get portability. It's flexible upon editing, and straight out of the camera, the images and the colors are punchy and beautiful. As far as the operation when it comes to this lens with this body, I can only speak to that because this is all I have, the X-T2. The focusing is fast. I have no issues of slow, hard to grab focusing points. And when people complain about stuff like that with their gear, you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt. I wouldn't be quick to believe what other people complain about, because you're not that type of photographer. You're completely different people with different trains of thought, schools of thought, I should say. So if someone says it's slow to focus, I would not recommend this lens. Well, I have to ask, what your habits are, what your environment is at that time. What are you trying to shoot? Was it in motion? I don't know. So for me, my perspective is that this lens is fast. It's sharp. The colors are good. It's a prime lens, and the glass is sound, and the aperture makes it so, the shallow depth of field, if you want to even go that high, is to 1.4. You don't need to go all the way to that maximum, but it's fun to mess around with, especially with product photography. This camera and lens combination, I've taken great pictures of just things. You know what I mean? I find that this lens gives things and still life. Taking pictures of like shining things like watches or a brightly colored tie and a dull desk really makes it pop. I find that this also works well with portraits in tight constricting areas. This can give you that soft bokeh. Now, could you get any lens and just edit it later? Yes, of course, but there's something to be said about getting the image right as much as you can in the moment. The image almost always comes out better that way. You want to take advantage of the character that every lens provides, and this lens, I think, has character. Not only that, it's so portable. I use it for street photography as well. It's so creative inducing when you want to go on the street and you see something that kind of takes your attention away for a second, you can just pick up with one hand and take that shot. That's not too heavy. You're just always on the go with this lens. So I highly recommend it. I think I got this for about what, 400, over 400 for sure. 470, something like that, slightly used from a trusted seller on the internet. So I've had good luck with it, and I highly recommend it to anyone who's looking for their first prime lens. I have other prime lenses. They are bulky, they're heavy. The image is great on those as well. They're all Fuji, but this one is just the perfect combination of having character, size, quality, all that stuff wrapped into one. Now, are there other prime lenses that are smaller and thinner than this? Yes, absolutely, and they're also reasonably priced, but those I feel it can be a little bit more distortion than I would like for my taste. So that's why I recommend this one. I first got into these prime lenses, especially this particular focal distance, because I saw a video many years ago when DSLRs were really becoming very popular. Anyone who could press a shutter was getting a DSLR, whether they were really interested in photography or not. And I remember I saw this one footage of someone's hands moving in a rhythmic fashion, and everything was blurry except their hands. It's just soft, beautiful piece of amateur video that I saw, and I got obsessed with this video, and I said, where do I get that camera? I need to buy that camera so I can do that thing that you just did. And I found out it wasn't the camera, it was the lens, particularly the 50mm perspective lens. And I remembered that, and I got this one later on. So I find that out of all the 50mm lenses that I've tried, this is the best one that I've had so far. So I have cherished it and treated it well and used it as often as I can over the years. So if you're looking for a lens that's smaller without compromising too much distortion perspective, I recommend the 35mm lens of any company, specifically the Fuji X, because that's what I can vouch for. I think you'll be very happy with your purchase. This is not a sponsored video, by the way. I am not Mr. Fuji. My name is Jimmy, as we've clarified in the beginning of this video. I just like my camera, and I want to talk about it and help you guys at the same time. Okay, I'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.